The broadcast rippled across the galaxy as a sense of unease swept over the gathered representatives of the Galactic Coalition. The time had finally come for the annual award ceremony, and everyone knew what that meant. The prestigious title of Most Terrifying Planet was about to be revealed to the winner. This was a highly coveted award within the Coalition, a title bestowed upon the species or civilization that had proven itself to be the most dangerous, terrifying, and formidable force in the galaxy, the kind of planet that even the bravest races feared to cross, one that could obliterate its enemies without mercy or hesitation, the kind of place that made the strongest tremble in their boots, and the most intelligent wonder how it had managed to survive, let alone thrive, for so long. Year after year, the same names were called, the same planets awarded, the same species took their places as the reigning champions of terror and intimidation. Some of them had long histories of warfare and conquest, others were simply so genetically evolved that no one dared challenge them. But today something was different. The hologram flickered to life, and the name of the winner appeared for all to see, and with that one moment everything changed. Earth. The gasps were audible even in the silent vacuum of space. Earth, the planet from the distant star system that no one had ever taken seriously, a primitive world filled with fragile beings who had barely mastered space travel, let alone ventured beyond their own solar system. Earth wasn't known for its power or its reputation. In fact, most of the galaxy had dismissed it as insignificant. Earth had no real presence in galactic affairs, no advanced technologies to rival the mighty empires that ruled the stars, and yet here it was, a small blue planet suddenly thrust into the spotlight of galactic history. The shockwaves of disbelief spread across the hall like wildfire. No one could understand how it had happened, how this insignificant world had earned such a title. Were they mistaken? Surely this was some kind of error or misunderstanding. But the name continued to glow on the hologram: Earth, Most Terrifying Planet. The Zorathians, a peaceful race of intellectuals, stared at each other, unsure of what to make of it. Their people had long prided themselves on their ability to resolve conflicts through diplomacy and reason. They could not imagine what could possibly make Earth more terrifying than their own vast empire. The Shkor, a militaristic species that had conquered countless planets with sheer force and dominance, felt a flicker of discomfort. They had never thought to consider Earth a threat. In fact, they had looked down on it as a backwater world unworthy of attention. Their own history of warfare and bloodshed was legendary, but now their arrogance began to feel misplaced. And the Vathar, the most advanced race in the galaxy that could manipulate energy itself, paused in stunned silence, their cold logic unable to reconcile how a species so weak, so fragile, could have earned this honor. The Galactic Council tried to make sense of it all, their members silent as they pondered what could possibly make Earth worthy of such recognition. They began searching for explanations, seeking reports on Earth's history, its people, its wars. But there was one thing no one could have predicted. Earth had a secret, a power unlike any other species in the galaxy had ever seen, one that wasn't bound by logic or reason, but something much more primal and instinctual, something that made Earth's inhabitants terrifying in ways no one could comprehend. And as the award ceremony continued, the galaxy could only wait in suspense to understand exactly why Earth had earned its place at the top of the list. The Galactic Council convened in haste after the shocking announcement as representatives from various planets began to whisper in disbelief. How had Earth won the award? What could make such a seemingly insignificant planet so terrifying? The Council had long prided itself on its intelligence and reason, a collective of the brightest minds across the galaxy, but now they were struggling to make sense of a mystery that defied all logic. The records of Earth's history revealed a species that had not yet mastered interstellar travel, not even close by galactic standards, yet somehow humanity had secured the Most Terrifying Planet title, as if some unseen force had propelled them into the limelight of galactic attention. The Council quickly set to work investigating every aspect of Earth's history, its culture, its evolution, and most importantly, its interactions with other species. They dug into the past, seeking patterns that could explain the rise of such a seemingly innocuous planet as a threat in a galaxy filled with far older and more powerful civilizations. At first glance, Earth appeared to be little more than a chaotic blend of nations, cultures, and ecosystems that were often at war with one another, yet even in the midst of their internal strife, the humans had an uncanny ability to survive and adapt against all odds. They had faced countless natural disasters, from massive earthquakes and tsunamis to volcanic eruptions and violent storms, yet time and again humanity endured where other species might have perished. But it wasn't just the natural disasters that had shaped the human spirit. The more the Council dug into their past, the more they uncovered the darkest parts of Earth's history, the countless wars fought over territory, ideology, and resources, wars that had torn the planet apart. Yet humanity had shown an incredible resilience. Never giving up even when defeat seemed inevitable, they constantly rebuilt and adapted, emerging stronger after each setback. The Council was intrigued, but the real turning point came when they looked at humanity's relationship with their own species. The sheer diversity of Earth's inhabitants meant they had developed a wide range of problem-solving techniques, many of them radically different from the galactic norms. The humans had no single governing body or unified force. Instead, they relied on an often fractured and unpredictable network of individuals and small groups to get things done. This decentralized approach was what made humanity so dangerous. When cornered or threatened, the humans had a way of coming together in moments of extreme crisis and working toward a common goal with a relentless energy that defied explanation. Their ability to innovate on the fly was staggering and made them unpredictable in ways that the more organized and methodical galactic races couldn't fathom. The Council marveled at how these fragile creatures had managed to overcome everything thrown at them, from devastating pandemics to global-scale warfare, and still found a way to endure. This same spirit of survival had now made them the focus of galactic fear, no longer seen as helpless or weak, but as a species capable of overcoming anything that dared challenge them. Yet the more the Council learned, the more they realized the true terror of Earth wasn't in its past battles or the wars it had fought, but in the potential it held. Earth's rapidly advancing technology, combined with the unpredictability of its people, meant that they were on the brink of something even greater if they could harness their power as a united force. The galaxy had no idea what they would do next. The Council's investigation into Earth was far from over, but already they understood one thing: Earth had earned its terrifying reputation, not through sheer violence or superiority, but through something much deeper, a drive to survive and thrive no matter the cost. And that made humanity the most unpredictable and terrifying species the galaxy had ever encountered. The Zorathians had long prided themselves on their ability to peacefully interact with and uplift less developed civilizations across the galaxy. A race of thinkers and diplomats, they had explored countless star systems, establishing contact with species far more primitive than themselves, only to leave them with knowledge and guidance. Their reputation for calm reasoning and compassion had earned them the respect of many, and they considered themselves experts in fostering cooperation among the stars. When they first set their sights on Earth, they believed it would be an easy task. The Zorathians had been monitoring the planet for years, watching humanity's rise from afar. They marveled at the diversity and ingenuity of Earth's inhabitants, observing how they had overcome internal struggles, global conflicts, and natural disasters with remarkable tenacity. The Zorathians had seen nothing particularly aggressive in humanity's history, and in their minds, the planet was ripe for peaceful interaction. The Zorathians sent a delegation of highly trained ambassadors to Earth's capital cities with the goal of initiating formal contact to extend an offer of friendship and assistance. Their ships arrived in Earth's atmosphere, glowing with otherworldly beauty, each ship designed to be awe-inspiring, communicating peace from the moment they descended. At first, humans were understandably curious. The sight of these advanced alien ships above the planet's cities sparked a mix of awe and wonder, but also suspicion. As the Zorathians broadcast their peaceful intentions, offering knowledge and cooperation, Earth's governments reacted differently than expected. Instead of eager negotiations, there was a wave of panic. Military alerts went up in every nation. Long-standing protocols of military readiness kicked into place. The global leaders had no idea who these visitors were or what their true intentions were. Despite the peaceful message, something about the sudden arrival felt wrong. The Zorothians, taken aback by the unexpected military response, attempted to clarify their intentions through encrypted communications. But they had underestimated humanity's collective distrust, especially in a world still recovering from previous conflicts. Military jets were scrambled to intercept their ships. Earth's air defenses were quickly locked onto the alien crafts, and governments, each with their own fears and agendas, sent conflicting signals. Some called for peaceful diplomacy, while others demanded the aliens leave immediately. The situation spiraled out of control in a way no one anticipated. Rather than engaging in dialogue, Earth's military forces, working together for the first time in decades, prepared to defend against what they perceived as an invasion. The Zorothians, unable to communicate effectively and unwilling to risk a full confrontation, tried to retreat, but the military had already locked on, seeing their hesitation as a sign of aggression. The moment the Zorothian ships attempted to depart Earth's atmosphere, humanity responded with force. A coordinated strike took place, aiming to disable the alien ships rather than destroy them outright. The Zorothians, skilled in peaceful interactions, but lacking the experience with hostile defense, were taken completely by surprise. Their ships, though technologically superior in many ways, were not prepared for the sheer determination and fear of Earth's military forces. The aftermath of the encounter left the Zorothians humiliated. They had come to Earth expecting to guide and teach, but they were forced to leave, retreating in defeat. Earth, once seen as a backwater planet, had fought back with a surprising strength. The alien delegation was forced to acknowledge the hard truth. Humanity wasn't just primitive. It was fiercely defensive and unpredictably dangerous when threatened. The Zorothians shared their account of the incident with the rest of the Galactic Coalition, but no one could believe it. How could a species with such primitive technology, such a history of internal conflict, be capable of such aggression? The Zorothians didn't have the answers. They only knew one thing: humanity was not a species to be taken lightly. They had failed to understand Earth, and in doing so, had provoked the very thing they had hoped to avoid. In the end, the first contact with Earth had failed spectacularly. But for the rest of the galaxy, it was a warning. Humanity was no longer a simple, inconsequential planet. They had shown their claws, and the consequences would be felt for years to come. The Score were not a species accustomed to failure, a ruthless and highly disciplined race of conquerors. They had expanded their empire across dozens of star systems, subjugating or annihilating any species that stood in their way. They prided themselves on their military prowess, their strength, and their ability to bring even the most defiant civilizations to heel. The galaxy had long feared the Score, and with good reason. When they set their sights on a world, that world usually didn't survive. The Council, now more concerned than ever by the events surrounding Earth, saw the planet's survival as an existential threat to galactic order. The Score, confident in their ability to crush any resistance, volunteered to take care of Earth once and for all. Their plan was simple: invade, neutralize any remaining defense systems, and establish dominance. To them, Earth was nothing more than a nuisance, a world full of primitive humans who had somehow survived by sheer luck. Their fleet was formidable. Massive warships bristled with weapons and advanced technology, designed for overwhelming force. The Score had been through many wars, and their armies were seasoned, ruthless, and efficient. The plan was to make an example out of Earth, to show the galaxy that even the most unexpected species could be brought to heel. As the Score fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, the humans were unaware of the impending danger. But as soon as the alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere, humanity responded with a speed and ferocity that shocked the Score. Earth's governments, despite their apparent lack of cohesion, had been quietly preparing for just such a threat. The secretive military alliances and research projects that had been developing in the shadows now took center stage. Satellites, old military bases, and civilian sectors were mobilized within hours. This core fleet had severely underestimated humanity's ability to respond to an extraterrestrial invasion. What followed was chaos, unlike anything the score had ever experienced. The humans, armed with a surprising mix of technology and sheer resourcefulness, mounted a counterattack that left the invaders struggling to adapt. Despite their advanced weaponry and overwhelming numbers, the score found themselves caught off guard by Earth's unexpected tactics. Instead of direct confrontations, humans used guerrilla warfare, creating traps and ambushes across the globe. Urban environments became battlegrounds, with every alleyway and rooftop turned into a defensive stronghold. These score were used to facing opponents who crumbled at the first sign of force. What they hadn't expected was the unpredictability of the humans. Earth's people weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting with everything they had, using their home turf to their advantage. There were no rules. There was no predictable behavior. Human ingenuity knew no bounds, and they constantly adapted to the score's strategies, finding new ways to strike back. The score fleet, despite its technological superiority, found itself unable to fully suppress the human resistance. Earth's military had taken out key ships, crippled communication lines, and set off covert sabotage missions that spread confusion through the score ranks. Even the most advanced weapons were met with countermeasures, and the human resolve grew stronger with every passing day. After weeks of brutal conflict, the score fleet was forced to retreat, leaving Earth battered but not defeated. The invaders had underestimated their adversary, assuming Earth's primitive inhabitants would be easily crushed under their boot. Instead, humanity had turned the tables. The score left the planet in disgrace, their pride shattered, and their mission a failure. For the galaxy, this event was a wake-up call. The score, once regarded as unbeatable, had been defeated by a species that had barely begun to master space travel. Earth, a planet once seen as insignificant, had now proven that it could stand toe-to-toe with the most formidable forces in the galaxy. The score's humiliating retreat only deepened the mystery of Earth's true nature and left the galaxy with one undeniable truth: Earth was not a world to be underestimated. The news of the score failure spread like wildfire, and with it, Earth's reputation as a terrifying, unpredictable force grew stronger across the stars. The HFY were one of the most intellectually advanced species in the galaxy, a race known for their cold, calculating logic and their ability to predict and manipulate the outcomes of nearly any situation. Unlike the more warlike score, the HFY didn't rely on brute force or sheer numbers. Instead, they prided themselves on their ability to understand patterns and make decisions based on vast amounts of data. They believed that any civilization, no matter how primitive, could be understood and controlled if studied long enough. When the HFY learned of Earth's unexpected victory over the score, they were intrigued but also deeply unsettled. Earth, they calculated, should not have been able to overcome the score. The humans were technologically inferior, lacking the advanced weaponry and military organization of the score, yet they had somehow defeated them. The HFY, ever curious, could not accept that this outcome was the result of mere chance. There had to be a deeper explanation. Instead of retreating, as many other species had done in the face of Earth's growing reputation, the HFY decided to study the humans more closely. They believed that by analyzing the planet and its people, they could uncover the key to their strength, and perhaps find a way to manipulate them for their own purposes. After all, the HFY were masters of psychological warfare and subtle influence. If they could understand the core of humanity's survival instinct, they could predict and control it. To the HFY, the answer lay in understanding the humans themselves. They devised a plan to infiltrate Earth, to observe the humans up close and extract the information they needed. They sent a small team of agents, disguised as humans, to live among them. These agents were trained in advanced technology, biological mimicry, and mind control techniques, skills that allowed them to blend seamlessly into Earth's population. The Exavral agents lived among the humans for months, gathering data, studying their behavior, and trying to discern the underlying patterns that had allowed humanity to survive, and most recently, triumph. But what the Exavral hadn't accounted for was the sheer unpredictability of human nature. Humanity, unlike other species the Exavral had encountered, was not easily understood. The Exavral agents were amazed by the complexity of human emotions, their capacity for cooperation and conflict, and their relentless drive to survive. They had thought that the humans could be understood as one might understand the behavior of an animal or a machine, but instead, they found themselves perplexed. Each interaction with humans seemed to produce different results, and no matter how much data they collected, the humans continued to defy their predictions. As the Exavral agents attempted to make subtle changes in the humans' behavior, offering advice, planting ideas, they were met with unexpected resistance. Some humans seemed to grow suspicious of them, while others seemed entirely uninterested in their guidance. What the Exavral had failed to predict was how quickly humans would adapt to their presence and learn to counter their influence. The moment the Exavral realized their plan was unraveling was when one of their agents, who had been subtly influencing the human scientist, was exposed. The scientist, after months of strange interactions, finally saw through the Exavral agent's disguise. In a quiet but deeply unsettling moment, the scientist revealed that they had known all along who the agent really was. Humanity, it seemed, had a peculiar way of detecting even the slightest deviations from normalcy, a trait that the Exavral had never encountered before. The exposed agents were forced to flee the planet, leaving behind a trail of confusion and frustration. Their failure was a blow to their race's pride, and they knew it. For the Exavral, who had always prided themselves on their ability to control and predict, being outwitted by humans was an unforgivable humiliation. They reported their findings to the Galactic Council, but instead of offering insight into humanity's weaknesses, their message was one of fear and caution. Earth had once again proven to be an enigma, a planet whose inhabitants defied logic, whose unpredictable nature made them terrifying in ways that no other species could fathom. The Exavral had failed to manipulate humanity, and their retreat only added to Earth's growing reputation. Now, even the most calculated and precise race in the galaxy was wary of Earth, knowing that to underestimate humanity was to risk disaster. The galaxy, it seemed, was only beginning to understand just how dangerous a force Earth truly was. The Zorathians had been humiliated. Their first attempt to interact peacefully with Earth had ended in utter failure. Their delegation had arrived with the intention of fostering cooperation and helping to guide humanity toward a more enlightened future. Instead, they had been met with an overwhelming response of distrust and aggression. The confrontation had escalated to the point where their ships had been forced to retreat, their mission in shambles. The Zorathians, known for their intellectual prowess and calm demeanor, were not accustomed to failure. They had studied countless civilizations over the millennia, offering their guidance where needed, yet Earth had been unlike any species they had encountered. For the first time, the Zorathians found themselves questioning their methods and assumptions. How had they miscalculated so completely? The initial response from Earth's military had been swift, coordinated, and brutal, leaving the Zorathians bewildered. Their first instinct had been to retreat, to return to their home system and regroup. But as they analyzed the events more deeply, they came to a staggering realization. Earth wasn't just a world of chaotic, primitive creatures. It was a world of creatures capable of organizing and fighting with a terrifying willpower when pushed to the edge. The Zorathians spent the next several months in quiet deliberation. Their society valued knowledge above all else, and they now realized that their previous approach to Earth had been grossly flawed. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and to fight as a united force when their survival was at stake. Their error had been assuming that humans would fold under pressure or that their primitive technology would make them easy prey. Rather than dismissing Earth as a lost cause, the Zorathians began a new study of the planet. This time, they approached the task with a sense of urgency and humility. The Zorathians analyzed human culture, biology, and psychology with a new lens. They pored over vast databases of human history, seeking out patterns and identifying potential weaknesses, all the while realizing that Earth's strength lay not just in its technology, but in its people. One of the most startling discoveries was the nature of human cooperation. The Zorathians had long studied species that worked in unison toward common goals, but the scale and complexity of human cooperation were unlike anything they had encountered. Humans had an unparalleled ability to form alliances, even among their own species' factions. Their political systems, while often disorganized and inefficient, were nonetheless capable of responding to existential threats with remarkable speed and effectiveness. The Zorathians understood now that any future interaction with Earth would require a different approach. Force alone would not work, for humans had shown they could withstand even the most overwhelming military assault. What the Zorathians needed was a more subtle plan, one that appealed to the core of human nature, their drive to survive, to grow, and to overcome. At the same time, the Zorathians began to study Earth's military technology, finding that humanity had made remarkable advancements in the field of defense and countermeasures. The weapons and tactics used by Earth's military were far more advanced than they had initially anticipated. They were not just using brute force. They were using strategy, deception, and unpredictability. The Zorathians recognized the brilliance of these tactics, but they also saw an opportunity. If they could find a way to manipulate this fear of the unknown, to sow discord within Earth's fractured global systems, they might be able to turn the humans against each other. But as they continued to observe and analyze, another realization began to set in. Earth wasn't just about survival and warfare. It was a planet teeming with creativity, with individuals who thought beyond the constraints of their environment. The Zorathians could not rely on their usual tactics of manipulation and control. They had to accept the truth. Humanity's unpredictability was its strength, and no amount of strategy or influence could easily bend them to the will of outsiders. Thus, the Zorathians arrived at a decision that set the course for the next phase of their strategy. They would attempt a new type of engagement with Earth, not as conquerors or saviors, but as allies. The Zorathians would offer to share knowledge with humanity, but in a way that respected the Earthlings' independence. However, they knew this approach would come with risks. Earth's unpredictable nature meant that their offer of help could just as easily be rejected or turned against them. The Zorathians had learned a hard lesson. The time for underestimating Earth was over. Now they would test whether they could forge a path of cooperation, or whether humanity's terrifying will to survive would once again thwart their plans. As the Zorathians made their preparations, another, unexpected shift began to take place on Earth. The impact of their failed attempt to establish contact had shaken not only the Zorathians, but also Earth's leaders. Across the planet, the sudden realization of just how many powerful forces were now watching humanity brought about an unprecedented sense of unity. For the first time in modern history, the nations of Earth began to look past their age-old divisions. Despite their differences, the threat of intergalactic conquest stirred a shared sense of purpose. The Zorathians, having recalculated their approach, now prepared for their second attempt at engagement. The Galactic Council, having heard of the Shore and Tavral failures, was increasingly apprehensive about Earth's unpredictable nature. It was one thing for individual races to miscalculate, but humanity's ability to stand up to the might of the Shore and evade the subtle manipulations of the Xavral was unlike anything any species had anticipated. This time, the Zorathians reached out not with grandiose promises or proposals of control, but with a humble offer of knowledge. They broadcasted a message to Earth, an encrypted transmission that bypassed the military defenses set up after the Shore invasion, offering a potential partnership. The message was clear. We can help you ascend, not as conquerors, but as guides. We have seen your potential. We offer the tools to ensure your continued survival, not just against us, but against any that would seek to harm you." For several days, humanity debated the offer. Governments, military leaders, scientists, and civilian groups all weighed in on the decision, and though there was deep mistrust, a growing voice for cooperation began to emerge. Earth's leaders, still reeling from the failed Skor invasion, recognized the reality that they could not stand alone forever. More advanced species might come, more powerful forces might arrive. In this new age of galactic awareness, humanity needed to learn, to grow, and perhaps even to ally with the beings who had once threatened them. After a tense period of deliberation, Earth's leaders agreed to cautiously engage with the Zorathians. But it wasn't an unconditional acceptance. There would be no alliance unless the Zorathians proved their sincerity. Earth would continue to build its own defenses, strengthen its global systems, and develop its own technology, but they would not turn down the opportunity for knowledge. Humanity's path forward would be one of independence, but with cautious collaboration. The Zorathians, ever patient and calculated, accepted the terms. A series of discreet exchanges began between select human representatives and Zorathian advisors. While many remained skeptical of the Zorathians' true motives, Earth's scientists quickly recognized the value of what was being offered. Information on advanced propulsion systems, medical technologies that could cure diseases long thought incurable, and insights into the deep reaches of space began to flow. But even as the alliance began to take shape, cracks appeared in its foundation. Not all of humanity was ready to trust the Zorathians, and not all of the Zorathians were entirely convinced that Earth was a world they could share power with. Some factions on both sides saw the potential for betrayal. Earth, with its military might and unpredictable nature, was still a wild card in the eyes of the galactic powers, and the Zorathians, despite their calm reasoning, remained cautious. However, as the years passed, Earth's influence on the galactic stage grew. Its people, once thought to be mere survivors, had begun to demonstrate a capacity for learning, adapting, and overcoming the greatest challenges any civilization could face. Earth's representatives attended meetings with the Galactic Council, not as subjugated beings, but as equals, species who had the knowledge to contribute, the strength to protect themselves, and the will to resist any force that threatened their home. But there was one final realization that gnawed at the Zorathians. Earth's strength was not in its technology or military power alone, but in something far deeper, the unyielding unity that arose when its people were pushed to their limits. Even among the vast expanse of space, among the countless civilizations, Earth's ability to stand as one when needed made it a force that no one, no matter how advanced, could afford to ignore. As the years wore on, Earth's alliance with the Zorathians became a symbol of potential collaboration between races that had once stood on opposite sides. Yet the galaxy could not shake the fear that, should Earth ever be truly threatened again, humanity would rise with an unpredictable vengeance that would make even the most powerful races quiver. Years passed, and Earth's place in the galaxy shifted from one of fearful isolation to growing prominence. The tentative alliance between humanity and the Zorathians, though formed in suspicion and caution, had become something deeper. Humanity had not only survived in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, it had learned, adapted, and thrived. The knowledge shared by the Zorathians had accelerated Earth's technological and scientific advancements, and humanity's resourcefulness had been a constant source of surprise for their alien allies. The Zorathians, in their quiet way, had come to respect Earth's inhabitants more than they had ever expected. But even as cooperation continued, the tension remained. The galaxy watched closely, and the Galactic Council, once dismissive of Earth's potential, now viewed the planet with a mix of awe and wariness. The question no longer was whether humanity could survive, but rather how the galaxy would respond to a species that was unpredictable, powerful, and capable of achieving anything when pushed to the edge. But the turning point came when the first human-led fleet ventured into the deeper reaches of the galaxy, beyond the boundaries of known space. Humanity, once confined to its blue and green world, now sought to carve a place among the stars, not as passive participants, but as active players in the galactic stage. With the Zorathians as their unlikely allies, humans built ships capable of faster-than-light travel, and they began exploring new worlds, discovering ancient ruins, and encountering species whose histories stretched back millions of years. The Galactic Council, once confident in their control over the galaxy, now found their dominion under threat. No longer were they the gatekeepers of knowledge and power. Humanity was rapidly catching up, and in some ways surpassing them. What terrified the Council the most was the fact that humanity's ambition seemed limitless. They had seen the rise and fall of empires, the fall of great civilizations, but Earth was different. It was a species that did not know its limits and would push toward the unknown without hesitation. In response, some of the older and more conservative races began to stir. The Score, though still reeling from their failure on Earth, saw the growing human presence as a challenge to their military dominance. The Exavral, after their failed infiltration attempt, had shifted their focus to monitoring Earth, wary of the unpredictable nature of its people. But it was not just the warlike races that took notice. The once dominant peaceful races, like the Andorans and the Netherians, began to reconsider their assumptions. They, too, had underestimated humanity's capacity for survival and unity. The culmination of these tensions arrived with a meeting of the Galactic Council, one that would decide whether humanity would be embraced as an equal or whether it would be contained before it grew too powerful. The leaders of every known species convened, prepared to make their case for how Earth should be handled. The Zorathians, now Earth's allies, defended humanity's place at the table, citing the extraordinary potential they had seen. But there was something else at play, something the Council could not ignore. Humanity was different. The room of galactic representatives buzzed with whispers as they realized the truth. They could not control Earth. No matter what they tried, they couldn't predict its actions. Earth had no central governing body, no single mind to sway, no unified ideology that could be manipulated. It was a planet of individuals, each with their own will and drive, and that made it more dangerous than any force they had ever faced. The Council's decision was a monumental one. Humanity was not to be contained. They would not be a pawn in galactic games, nor would they be allowed to remain on the fringe. Earth had earned its place among the stars, not because of its technology or military might, but because of something far more terrifying: its relentless will to exist, to thrive, and to rise above any obstacle. As the meeting concluded, the representatives from Earth, once considered an insignificant species, stood among their galactic peers. There was no declaration of superiority, no declaration of dominance. Instead, there was quiet recognition. Earth, against all odds, had proven itself. Humanity was not just a survivor, it was a force of nature. And as they looked to the stars, the galaxy had no illusions left. Earth would not just participate in the grand tapestry of the cosmos. It would reshape it, unpredictably and powerfully, one world at a time.